The words hung in the air between us, colder and sharper than the ice clinking in the forgotten cocktail glasses on the table. I don't like you like that, Caleb. I'm sorry. They were a lie. Or maybe they were the truest thing Eurostrade D ever said, and in that moment, I couldn't Eurostrade T tell the difference. All I could see was the light in his eyes extinguish, the vibrant, repressible energy that was so fundamentally him just to Euros vanishing. He stood there, his face a canvas of disbelief and pain, before nodding once, a sharp, broken movement. The door clicked shut behind him, and the sudden silence of the private dining room was more deafening than any shout. And I was left alone, with his ghost, and the crushing weight of a lie that had started as a clumsy shield and had somehow morphed into a weapon. A weapon I had just used to shatter my best friend. But to understand how we got here, how a stupid, panicked fabrication could lead to this level of devastation, we have to go back to the night it all began in the chaotic, cramped space of dorm room 2B. My name is Maxwell, and my life, up until a few months ago, was aggressively, almost boringly average. I was a sophomore in college, my world defined by the dual anxieties of passing my economics midterms and finding clean socks. This semester, Eurostrade D landed in a triple dorm, a setup I wasn't Eurostrade T thrilled about, but accepted as part of the collegiate experience. My roommates were a study in contrasts. On one side, you had Caleb. He was less of a person and more of a human sunbeam, an explosion of chaotic good energy wrapped in the physique of a gym god. He was the kind of guy wore Eurostrade D greet an 8 a.m. lecture with a blinding smile and somehow make you feel guilty for being a grump. We clicked immediately. Our friendship forged over late-night gaming sessions and a shared appreciation for instant ramen. On the other side of the room was James. If Caleb was the sun, James was the moon. Euros cool, distant, and possessing a quiet, magnetic gravity. He looked like he Eurostrade D been carved from marble and mystery. A brooding scholar who spoke in perfectly articulated sentences and seemed to exist on a diet of black coffee and classic literature. He was polite, but there was an invisible wall around him, a sense that getting too close was not advisable. I figured our dynamic was set. Caleb was the brother Eurostrade D never had, and James was the intriguing enigma Eurostrade D respectfully coexist with. We Eurostrade D complain about classes, argue about video games, and generally survive the semester. It was a simple, comfortable equation, until one night, when a single, muffled sound threw all the variables into chaos. It was deep in the clutches of a Tuesday night, sometime around 2 in the morning. I was lost in a dream, a glorious fantasy where I was effortlessly acing my econ final when a rhythmic shaking jolted me awake. It wasn't a Eurostrade T, a tremor from the earth. It was more personal, more localized. It was coming from the bunk directly above me. My heart hammered against my ribs as I shot upright, my mind scrambling through a Rolodex of possibilities. Was there an intruder? Was the building collapsing? I scanned the darkened room, the pale moonlight painting stripes across the floor. James was a still silhouette in his bed across the room, completely undisturbed. But my bunk bed was vibrating like a cheap motel mattress with a coin slot. And then I heard it, a low groan, muffled by a pillow seeping down from the mattress just inches above my head. Caleb Eurostrade's bed. My initial thought was one of pure, unadulterated awkwardness. Okay, I reasoned with myself. The doer Eurostrade's just taking care of some personal needs. Eater Euros trade as a dorm room full of young guys. It happens. The unspoken rule was to pretend you were deaf, dumb, and blind. I was fully prepared to roll over, regulate my breathing to a shallow whisper, and feign the deepest sleep of my life. But the sounds didn't Euros trade stop. They mutated. A second voice joined the fray, tinny and faint, clearly coming from a phone. And then, cutting through the darkness with horrifying clarity, Caliber Euros trade's own voice, a rough, desperate whisper. Maxa Euros, my name. My freaking name. I froze, my blood turning to ice water in my veins. My eyes were glued to the wooden slats of the bunk above me, as if I could see through them. Did he just say what I thought he said? In Thesa Euros context, my brain felt like a computer that had just been doused in water. The rhythmic shaking, the muffled sounds, and nor Euros my name. The pieces clicked together into a picture I absolutely did not want to see. Was Caleb watching gay porn? And was he Euros thinking about me while he did it? The implication hit me like a physical blow. Me and Khaled, sure, he was objectively handsome, built like a Greek statue, and had a personality that could charm a snake out of its skin. He bought me digital skins for our favorite games without ever asking for anything in return. But we were bros, buddies. Our bond was sealed with fist bumps and insults. Notar Euros this. My mind raced, trying to find any other plausible explanation. Maybe I misheard. Maybe he was talking about a character named Max. But the most logical, albeit terrifying, alternative began to form. Caleb and James. They were childhood friends. They shared a history that I wasn't privy to, a shorthand of inside jokes and knowing glances. Maybe Caleb had a thing for James, our resident campus heartthrob with his sharp jawline and intellectual mystique. It made a twisted kind of sense. Maybe in the heat of the moment, he Euros trade D just accidentally said my name instead of Jams or Euros trade S. Yes, that had to be it. It was a much more palatable reality. By the time the noises from above finally ceased, sleep was a distant memory. I lay awake for hours, my mind a whirlwind of questions I was too afraid to ask. Morning arrived far too quickly, dragging me from my bed with the promise of lukewarm coffee and unresolved tension. I felt gritty and sleep-deprived, but Caleb was already up, shirtless and bouncing a basketball between his hands, looking as refreshed as if he Euros trade D had a full 8 hours of serene, silent sleep. His blonde hair was a perfect mess, and he greeted me with that signature, blinding grin. Yo, Max. You look like you wrestled a bear and lost. Late night gaming binge. I squinted at him, 1,000 accusations screaming in my head. You know damn well why I didn't Euros trade T sleep, you mattress-shaking monster. But all I said was nar, just weird dreams, man. I moved towards the coffee maker, deliberately avoiding his gaze. James was already at his desk, immersed in a textbook, the picture of academic diligence, seemingly oblivious to the nocturnal drummer. Caleb, ever the social butterfly, followed me, slinging a casual arm around my shoulders. You seem tense, bro. Wanna hit the gym later? I can spot you. His touch, which I usually wouldn't have thought twice about, now felt charged, heavy with unspoken meaning. I flinched away. Pass, I mumbled, ducking out from under his arm. Class. He just laughed, completely unfazed. Suit yourself. Hey, James, you in? James glanced up from his book, his dark eyes flickering from Caleb to me and back again. Maybe. I have a paper due. His voice was neutral, but his gaze lingered on me for a second too long. as if he were trying to solve a puzzle. I dismissed it as paranoia, a side effect of my exhausted brain. The day was a fog of lectures I barely registered and notes I scribbled without comprehension. All I could think about was the lie I was now living. By dinner time, the three of us were back in the dorm. James was at our small kitchenette, expertly chopping vegetables for a stir-fry that smelled infuriatingly delicious, while Caleb lounged on his bed, scrolling through his phone. The scene was so domestic, so normal, it almost made me believe that last night had been a bizarre, sleep-deprived hallucination. But I couldn't unhear it. I couldn't unknow it. Breaking the comfortable silence, Caleb spoke up. "So, what's the plan for tonight? Movie marathon? Game night?" He wiggled his eyebrows playfully in my direction. "Or Euros, we could watch something a little more Euros spicy." My stomach plummeted into my shoes. Spicy? Was that some kind of code? A test? I shot a panicked look at James, silently begging him to intervene, to suggest something wholesome like a Disney movie. But he just offered a noncommittal shrug, tossing his vegetables into a sizzling pan. "I'm down for whatever." The walls of the room felt like they were closing in. If they were both into Euros that stuffer Euros, then I was the third wheel, the odd one out. The token straight guy in a room that was decidedly not. Eater Euros trade s not that I cared what they did, my philosophy had always been live and let live. But the thought of being the outsider, of losing the easy friendship Euros trade D found with Caleb, was terrifying. He was my closest friend on campus, and James, in his own cryptic way, was growing on me. I didn't want to jeopardize that. So, in a moment of pure, unadulterated idiocy, I opened my mouth and let the stupidest words Euros trade V ever uttered fall out. "So are Euros, are you guys into Euros? You were Euros, that kind of thing. Like, together?" I aimed for casual curiosity, but my voice cracked, betraying my panic. Caliber Euros trade's head snapped up from his phone, his easy grin dissolving. "What's that supposed to mean, Max?" James set his knife down with a soft click and turned to face me fully. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "You have something you want to say, Maxwell?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. I was in too deep. My brain was a siren, screaming abort, but my mouth had staged a mutiny. "I just mean, it's totally cool if you are," I stammered, the words tumbling over each other. "Like, Euros trade mar Euros trade am gay, too. So, you know. No judgment here." The confession, the lie, hung in the air. I think I felt my soul physically exit my body. For a moment, there was just stunned silence. Then, Caliber Euros trade's face split into a wide grin, and he erupted into laughter. A loud, booming laugh that echoed off the concrete walls. "No way, Max! You're full of surprises." He slapped me on the back, a hearty, friendly gesture that nearly sent me sprawling. "Welcome to the club, man." James didn't laugh. He just stared at me, his expression a mask I couldn't decipher. "Didn't see that coming," he said finally, his tone unreadable. "Good for you." I forced a smile, my palms slick with sweat. "Yeah, just, Euros living my truth. Living my lie," my brain corrected. But Thayer Euros trade debought it. Caleb was already launching into a story about a queer film festival he wanted to check out, and James returned to his cooking, though I felt his eyes on me more than once. As we ate James Euros trade's surprisingly excellent stir-fry, Caleb kept the mood light, teasing me about my gaming skills. "You gotta carry me harder next time, bro. Euros trade am useless without you. Keep dreaming, I retorted, the familiar Bantu helping me relax just a little. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad. I just had to maintain the charade. Dodge any personal questions, keep my fake gay history vague, and everything would be fine. We could still be bros. But then Caleb leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. So, Max, you gotta have a type, right? Spill the tea. His grin was playful, but his eyes were sharp, probing. I nearly choked on a piece of broccoli. Oh, types. I stalled, my mind blanking. Liquor Euros tall, fun Euros good at not getting killed in the first 5 minutes of a battle royale. Smooth, Maxwell. Real smooth. Caleb laughed, but James, who had been quiet, set his fork down. His gaze was piercing. Interesting, he said, and I could have sworn a smirk was playing on his lips. I was so screwed. One tiny lie, one moment of social panic, and I had dug myself a grave so deep Euros trade D need a ladder to see daylight. And worse, a terrifying thought began to creep in. What if Caliber Euros trade S late night whisper wasna Euros trade T about James at all? What if he really warsa Euros into me? And why, dear God, why did that thought make my stomach feel like it was full of frantic butterflies? All I knew for sure was that this secret had to be guarded at all costs. I couldn't let my best friend, or Mr. Brooding and Mysterious, find out I was an imposter in their club. I thought I could manage the deception. It seemed simple enough on papers. Agree with Caleb's opinions on queer cinema, artfully dodge any questions about my non-existent dating history, and generally keep my head down. But the universe, it seems, has a wicked sense of humor. It wasna Euros trade T content to let me skate by. It wanted to shove me into the deep end, and it used a kiss I never saw coming as the final push. The whole mess started on a crisp Tuesday morning during my weekly trek to Econ class with James. It was our routine. He was in the same lecture, while Caleb was off somewhere, probably bench pressing a small car. Our walks were usually quiet affairs. James was the kind of person who seemed to be contemplating the mysteries of the universe in his head, and I was usually too tired to form coherent sentences. But today, my mind was a chaotic mess, replaying the events of the past few weeks on a loop. My stupid lie. Caliber Euros trade S late night mumblinger Euros maybe. I thought I could use this situation to my advantage. If I could just nudge Caleb and James together, their Euros trade D be so wrapped up in each other they wouldn't Euros trade T have time to scrutinize my paper-thin backstory. I would be off the hook. As we walked across the main quad, the sound of autumn leaves crunching under our feet, I decided to test the waters. So, James, I began, trying to sound as casual as possible. Random question for you. If a guir Euros you know, a friend or Euros had a crush on you, would you be open to it? James didn't break his stride, but I saw his eyes narrow slightly. A guy friend? Like who? He angled his head toward me, and a faint, knowing smirk touched his lips. Are you trying to tell me something, Maxwell? My face felt like it was on fire. No, God, no. It's just a hypothetical, I rambled, waving my hands dismissively. You're a good-looking guy, right? I bet you have dudes crushing on you all the time. Janser Euros trade S smirk widened. Hypothetically, he said, drawing the word out. It would depend on the guy. Why? Do you have someone specific in mind? My panicked laughter sounded like a distressed bird. Nope, just curious. Forget I even asked. He just shook his head, a glimmer of amusement in his dark eyes. He didn't press the issue, but I felt like Eurostrade D just failed a high-stakes interrogation. Class was an agonizing blur. My brain refused to focus on supply and demand curves, instead choosing to replay my disastrous conversation with James. By the time the lecture ended, my grand matchmaking scheme was in shambles. All I wanted was to get back to the dorm and lose myself in a video game for a few hours. But as we were cutting through a secluded courtyard, a nervous-looking kid, clearly a freshman, stepped directly into our path. He was clutching a spiral notebook to his chest like a shield, his cheeks flushed a bright pink. "Oh, James. See, can I talk to you for a minute?" he stammered, darting a terrified glance at me as if I were about to pronounce his doom. James, ever composed, simply raised an eyebrow. "Sure, Maxwell, you mind waiting?" "Yeah, no problem," I said, taking a step back. "I'll just be over here appreciating the architecture." I leaned against a stone pillar, feigning a deep interest in the brickwork, but my internal radar was screaming. This had all the hallmarks of a confession. The freshman led James a few paces away. His voice was low, but in the quiet courtyard, his words carried. "James, I've had a crush on you for, like, ever. You're just so amazing, and I had to tell you." The words spilled out of him in a desperate, heartfelt rush. I cringed in second-hand embarrassment, already knowing how this would end. James could be brutally efficient when he wanted to be. And sure enough, his reply was devoid of any warmth. "I'm flattered, but I'm not interested. Sorry." The Keter Eurostrade's face fell. Is it because you like girls? Or James didn't even hesitate. "I have a boyfriend." My own jaw dropped. Before my stunned brain could even process the information, James turned, his eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that sent a jolt through me. In 2 quick strides, he closed the distance between us, his hand landing on my shoulder, pulling me forward. "This is him," he announced, his voice ringing with false confidence. "Maxwell." My entire operating system crashed. "Boyfriend?" "Me." The freshman stared at us, his mouth hanging open. James Eurostrade's grip on my shoulder tightened, a silent, urgent command, "Play along." And then, before I could utter a single protest, he leaned in, his free hand cupping my chin, and he kissed me. Right there, in the middle of the courtyard, in broad daylight. His lips were surprisingly soft, warm, and the kiss was over in a heartbeat, but it was enough to short-circuit my entire nervous system. Reboot failed. He pulled back, his expression as calm and unruffled as ever. "Believe me now?" he asked the freshman, who looked as though he Eurostrade D just witnessed an alien landing. The kid mumbled something incoherent before turning and practically sprinting away, leaving me standing there, dazed and tingling. James finally turned his full attention to me, a hint of apology in his eyes. "Sorry about that, Max. He's been following me around for weeks." I needed a definitive way to shut it down. I blinked, struggling to form a coherent thought. My lips still felt warm. Yeah. No problem," I managed to squeak out, my voice an octave higher than usual. "Just maybe a little next time." I tried for a grin, but it probably looked more like a grimace. "We're cool," he nodded, the flicker of guilt in his eyes intensifying. "I appreciate it. Let's head back." The walk back to the dorm was shrouded in a thick, unnerving silence. My mind was a screaming vortex of questions. Was James actually gay? Was the boyfriend thing a lie, or was I the lie? And why did he choose me for his little charade? When we finally reached our room, Caleb was there, lounging on the sofa with a protein shake, that carefree grin plastered on his face. "Yo, lovebirds, how was class?" he teased, playfully tossing a cushion at me. I caught it on instinct, my heart lurching into my throat. If Caleb found out about that kiss he Eurostrayed, think I was making a move on James, the guy I was convinced he was crushing on. I had to perform some serious damage control. Class was boring, I said, tossing the cushion back. Oh, but get this. Some guy confessed his undying love to James on the way back. Caliber Eurostrayd's grin faltered for just a fraction of a second. "No way. What'd you do, James? Crush his soul?" James, ever the stoic, shrugged as he pulled a bottle of water from our mini-fridge. Told him I wasn't interested. It was handled. I saw my opening. A chance to steer the conversation, to gently crush Caliber Eurostrayd's presumed hopes and get some answers for myself. "Yeah, James is way too cool for random freshmen," I said, trying to sound nonchalant. "He's probably got to be into someone special, right? Like you're probably into girls anyway, huh?" I was fishing, hoping he'd just say yes, that he was straight, and this whole complicated mess could be simplified. James set his water bottle down on the counter with a deliberate thud. His gaze locked onto mine, sharp and direct. "I never said I was into girls." The room fell silent, the air suddenly thick and heavy. "I like guys." My jaw might have actually hit the floor. Beside me, Caleb choked on his protein shake, a fit of coughing racking his body. When he recovered, he let out a half laugh, half gasp of surprise. "Wait, for real? You're just dropping that bomb on us now?" James just shrugged again, as if he'd just commented on the weather. I didn't think it was a secret. I was reeling. James was gay. Caleb was, I was 99% sure, also gay. And I was the monumental idiot who had lied about being gay just to feel like I belonged. Caleb turned to me, his eyes gleaming with a new kind of mischief. "Well, damn, Max. Looks like Eater Eurostrayd's a full house. We're all on the same team. You cool with that?" I forced a weak laugh, my palms beginning to sweat again. "Totally. I mean, I'm gay too, remember? So, no biggie." The lie felt even more toxic the second time I said it, but I was trapped. Caleb slung an arm around my shoulders, pulling me into a one-armed hug. His warmth seeped through my shirt, making my skin tingle in a way that was both comforting and deeply unsettling. "That's my boy. We gotta stick together, right?" James watched us, his expression as unreadable as ever. "Right," he said, but his tone had an edge to it that I couldn't Eurostrayd quite decipher. As Caleb launched into a discussion about what we should have for dinner, I sank back into the sofa cushions, my mind a battlefield of conflicting thoughts and emotions. James Eurostrayd's kiss, his sudden coming out, Caliber Eurostrayd's arm draped around me. It was all too much. My plan to push Caleb towards James was now hopelessly complicated by the fact that I was James's fake boyfriend, caught in a lie that was spiraling into a Category 5 hurricane. And worse, much worse, was the undeniable fact that Caliber Eurostrayd's easy grin and casual affection were doing strange, acrobatic things to my insides, and I couldn't tell if the feeling was panic or something else entirely. Something I wasn't ready to name. I had to keep this story straight, because if I didn't, our little dorm room was about to become the epicenter of a disaster.